Honestly, I think what I was sensing from Joel was not state of emergency, but a level of inconvenience. That's what I was picking up that I think Maria was also noticing. I think she is saying, I would prefer that problem
than to let people
die. Yes,
I agree.
That's an immigration conversation.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to lie, bro. It's a lot of immigrants that have that same mindset, and I don't like it. It's this feeling of like, once I got in, sometimes it be feeling like y'all forget.
Close the door behind me.
Yes, I cannot stand it.
The more that I think about it, the other issue with Joel making that argument is Joel shut down the other alternative, right? Like the other alternative was we find a cure so that we don't have refugees anymore. Joel shut that down definitively. So this is the only other option for humanity's survival. This is it. It's building up communities like this and growing them and expanding them. That's the only other alternative. You can't be against both. Crazy Stupid Podcast.
Thank you so much for tuning in. If this is your first time watching, we'd love it if you could hit the like button, the subscribe button, and the bell so that you are aware of when we post things.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Crazy Stupid Podcast. My name is Esther.
And I'm Adrian.
And today we are here finally to discuss The Last of Us Season 2, Episode 1.
We are back. This is the very first show that we ever reviewed back in 2023.
Real ones will remember. If you don't remember, don't go back and watch.
You know, it's quite a couple people did. I had one person in the comment section was like, wow, ... Yeah, this was a really big upgrade in the technology. Yo, the videos look horrendous. Okay,
I love the clip, like the back and forth, like my half, your half, my half, your half.
I know. I even feel like some of the episodes didn't even have video because I was like, well, this can't go up. So I just posted an audio of it on YouTube. It was, oh boy.
We're doing spoiler free, right?
This is spoiler free, yes.
Well, like spoiler free in terms of what's coming in the season, but not spoiler free in terms of the episode.
Yes, yeah. I played the game, so we're giving that spoiler free for people that have played the game and know what happens. This is not a video game review of the television show. This is episode by episode so far.
It's definitely an episode that is trying to ground us in the themes that we're going to get to spend a lot more time exploring as things go on.
Yeah.
I feel like that came through really well in the conversation with the therapist. We're going to be coming back to that conversation later, I think. Just like that. I feel like that was like a little snapshot, like a little microcosm of like what this entire season is going to be about. She says you can't heal something unless you're brave enough to say it out loud.
Yeah.
Which is definitely going to be a thing. But then she kind of talks about like how important it was for her to just like get this horrific thing out in the open of like, this is a terrible thing that has happened between us, like a huge rupture that has occurred between us. And I cannot just ignore it and move on like everything's cool. I have to name it and say it no matter how uncomfortable it is. And we're seeing Joel's resistance to that message. That's definitely going to be something that he's going to have to learn in this season. Now, however he learns it.
To sort of stay on Joel, the show is doing a lot in showing you like his internal conflict about like how he's processing what went down with Ellie. I think the show is doing a good job of also showing you Joel's worldview and politics. One of the things that I have appreciated about this version of Joel with the television is that it's giving you a little bit more depth into his motives and his characteristics, just a little bit more than in the video games. The reason I'm saying that is the conversation that he had with Tommy's wife about bringing people into their safe haven that they have, and he's very much against it, almost like borderline anti-refugee, just a little bit. That version of Joel has come up often throughout the series so far, even predating back to season 1. I remember when the outbreak first happened and everything's sort of in chaos, there's people on the road that Tommy and Joel's daughter, I think Sarah, was trying to have Joel pick up, and he's like, no, someone else will come along to help them. I think there's a high level of individualism. I think there's some borderline like isolationism involved in the way that he views things, because Tommy's wife had to kind of remind him like, you were also a refugee at some point. I just feel like his resistance to that, to me, sheds light into more motive with why he made the decision back in season 1. I think trying to make a sacrifice for a greater good is something that Joel would just never do. At least the Joel that we have come to know personally. What you're saying with the therapist of having to like revisit the trauma that he has and revisiting the guilt that he's dealing with, I think there's also a part of Joel that's like, can he exist in this world that does require you to rely on other people more? That does require a level of like collectivism to exist. Because I remember even back in season 1, Joel mockingly talks to Tommy and he's like, oh, so y'all are commies now? And then Tommy's like, no. And his wife corrects him like, yes, that's literally what we are. So I'm curious to know if we're going to explore that a little bit more with his character, because I do think that does matter with the decision he ultimately made in season 1.
The language that they used of using the term refugee feels purposeful and intentional. In real life, the argument that they make is about self-preservation. And that's the argument that Joel was making. It's an argument that's based in a scarcity mindset that in real life, at least, is not true. Scarcity in the show is a real concern, but
I think they would have been
okay. Yes. They probably would have been okay. So, yeah,
I think,
I'm reneging.
Honestly, I think what I was sensing from Joel was not state of emergency, but a level of inconvenience.
Yeah.
I think that's what I was picking up, that I think Maria was also noticing. In the grand scheme of things, do we go a year where it's a little bit clustered and we've got to be a little bit more intensive with our rations? I think she is saying, I would prefer that problem
than to let people die.
Yes,
I agree.
And that's just a flat, that's an immigration conversation.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to lie, bro, as someone that's first generation and my parents moved here, it's a lot of immigrants that have that same mindset, and I don't like it. It's this feeling of like, once I got in, sometimes it be feeling like y'all forget.
Close the door behind me.
Yes, I cannot stand it. Now, my family was never like that, right? They are very left when it comes to this conversation, but there are a lot of immigrants that are just like, bro, you were just there, and not all of you got through on a visa. Some of you got through on refugee status, and now y'all got through and y'all want to act brand new. That's the vibes I'm picking up from Joel. This is, now that you mentioned it, this is why it triggered me. Okay. This is what it picked up on. So.
I think the other issue, and sorry to mess up the editing, I don't know.
It don't matter.
But I think that the more that I think about it, the other issue with Joel making that argument is, as we said, like, Joel is shut down the other alternative, right? Like, the other alternative was, we find a cure so that we don't have refugees anymore. Joel shut that down definitively. So this is the only other option for humanity's survival. This is it. It's building up communities like this and growing them and expanding them. That's the only other alternative. You can't be against both.
And exactly. You took the potentially other choice away. Well, now open borders, my guy. It's funny how some of them try to still hold into like conservative views even after the world has fallen apart.
Yeah, I was like, homophobia surviving the apocalypse is really crazy. It's crazy. Like, bro. Imagine like outside of your town there are monsters that eat people, and you're disturbed by two girls kissing. Like, that's a little bit crazy. The gays. That's a little bit insane. But low key, that's what people be doing in real life. Like,
I feel you.
We got a constitutional emergency going on. And y'all, and some people said,
oh my gosh.
But what about trans people? Some people really said that.
The two trans high school athletes in the country, but you won't worry about that more. Insane.
That man led an insurrection, and people really said, but trans people though. So
he's like, bro, and the argument was so spot family event. There's kids around. It's in a church. Shut the fuck up.
I know Ellie was mad, but I was glad that Joel pushed him.
Yes. Be the ally.
I also think, like, I mean, obviously he's not being honest with Ellie. I don't know if he's told her and they haven't shown us, or if he hasn't told her, but she's just picking up on it. Like, she just kind of knows instinctually. But whatever. From what we know right now, it appears that he is not being honest with Ellie about it. But he's also not being 100% honest with himself, because he keeps on saying that he saved her.
Yeah.
And I feel like we talked about this when we watched that last season. But I feel like what Ellie is picking up on, and the reason why she is so resistant to his help, is I think Ellie understands that, like, what Joel did at the end of the last season was not, like, altruistic. Mm-hmm. It wasn't outwardly focused. It wasn't like, I'm saving Ellie for Ellie. It was, I'm saving Ellie for me.
Yeah.
Because I cannot afford to lose her. She's picking up on that, whether she knows it or not, that, like, something is off about what happened that day. And I think she's resistant to his help, because right now she's like, well, your help that you're offering me is not about me.
Yeah.
It's not about my own, what I want for myself. It's about your fear of losing me. But those two things are not the same. And they're in conflict when your fear of losing me is a direct attack on my agency, like it was at the end of the last season. And that's how she's interpreting everything that he's doing in this first episode, whether it's true or not. You know, I feel like different examples, there's probably different arguments that could be made, but like for her, that's how all of it feels, is like, because you're just so stuck in fear, you're not allowing me to make my own choices in life.
Well, I think this is where the conversation that everybody was having last season of, like, was Joel right or wrong? It boils down to not just Ellie's agency, but what she would have wanted. The reality is, Joel makes it seem like he's the only one that knows who Ellie is. But Marlene also knew who Ellie was. She had known Ellie from birth, raised her, you know, pulling her out of the womb with Ellie's mom. So it wasn't like Joel was the only one in the world that understood who Ellie was. Mm-hmm. And so when Marlene was like, she would have wanted this, she's 100% correct.
She also could have asked her, though. That was my thing with them.
Listen, and this is not to excuse the Fireflies. What they should have done was, yes, they should have told Ellie. But I think we can surmise, based off of her reaction so far in this episode, she would have wanted to go through with it.
That's a possibility, but I think there's also a possibility that maybe she wouldn't have wanted to go through with it, but she wanted to make the decision herself. I think probably the most likely scenario is she does not necessarily know, because she wasn't given the chance by anybody involved.
I think the monologue that we got, they didn't show it part of this season, but at the end of season 1, where she talks about she doesn't want all this to be for nothing, to me tells me that she wanted to take the risk, and she could tell that Joel wasn't being honest about everything that went down in there.
I guess what I want to say is, I don't think that Marlene being possibly right about her understanding of Ellie should make their decision less bad than Joel's. No, to me, I think they're both equally bad, in that both of them stripped away Ellie's choice in that moment. I believe Joel was wrong wholeheartedly and full stop. I do want to just play out a hypothetical and just see, like, where you would land. Let's say that Joel doesn't stop them and the Fireflies go through with it without Ellie's consent, and she does not survive. Is it worth it?
I would still say yes, it's worth it, because that's a gamble worth taking. I can understand from the Fireflies perspective of, we don't want there to be any resistance because of everything we've had to do to get here. I'm not justifying it. I feel like I just sympathize more in their decision to not tell Ellie, a little bit more with Joel personally. Listen, I get that Joel is being, like, super overprotective, and it's a lot. And some of it feels a little sexist, because it's like, oh, Ellie's a girl, right? But whatever. At the same time, as much as I love Ellie, and she's my favorite character in the game, Right, she was getting on my damn nerves this episode. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
Her and Dina.
Annoying. Absolutely. And listen, I get the frustration that Ellie has, but she's also being extremely reckless and arrogant, primarily because she knows that she is immune.
You put everybody else at risk too, though.
Okay.
And they're not.
And this is where I'm interested to see where they go with this story plot. I don't think that Ellie just got bit for the sole purpose of us being reminded that she's immune. I think her getting bit and her putting the knife in her blood and, dropping it down the drain. And then a couple of scenes later, they show us the pipes and the spores still being alive. I think those two things are connected. That was a new story plot that they brought into the show that wasn't really relevant in the game.
They don't evolve in the game?
Well, I'll get to that. This isn't the involvement I'm talking about. I'm referring to when you step on the roots of the spores and they're all connected links, like neurologically.
Oh, yeah.
That portion isn't in the game. And so because Ellie's bit, I am wondering if what she did there alerted some of the other infected in that area. I wouldn't be surprised if that's where they go to really show what you were just saying of like, just because you're immune, you can still your actions can still impact the other people around you and put them at risk. If they're trying to drill in the theme of consequences for your actions, I don't think it will just be about the decision that Joel made. I think there's also going to be with choices that Ellie's making also.
Yeah, I think they hinted at that with what happened when she went into the building, when her and Dina went to the building.
Yeah.
And they were like, everything's cool, we can handle this. And then she ended up in a very dangerous situation where things could have gotten very bad.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they're definitely foreshadowing that like Joel is not the only person who's going to have some tough lessons to learn. Yes. For sure. I think it's one of those ironic situations where, you keep wanting to be treated like an adult, but you act like a child.
Yes.
Like, and 19 is young. 19 is young. I'm not saying like you should be, 19 is young. You're a young person, you're going to make young person decisions. And also, this is life or death.
The Eugene plot's interesting with Joel because in the game, it's like mentioned that he kind of dies from a stroke or something, but it's not something where like Joel was like directly involved in ending. And the therapist is a new character. So I'm interested to know where that goes. There's because she says something where she was like, it was how you essentially killed him.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if that might be tied to Eugene might knowing the truth about Ellie. And Joel does something to try to cover that up.
Oh. But that means, so does the therapist know the truth?
I don't know. Maybe
because she said, I understand that you didn't have a choice.
Well, that's where I'm not sure with. That's why I don't know. I
don't know.
It doesn't seem like she would know about Ellie.
No, I don't think you would have told her.
Yeah. And then the only other thing that I wanted to mention was about the Stalkers, the infected. So in the video game, there's just kind of like different versions of infected, right? You've got like the infected that are like recently, you've got like clickers, you've got bloaters. There's another one, and I don't want to spoil the name because I think that might be revealed later on, either in this season or next season. The most science, like there's other science involved, but like the biggest one is really centered on like as time goes on, they become more infected and physically their body changes, right? Yeah. The Stalkers, though, were not necessarily explained as not like this in the game. The way that they're presenting it in the show is like this is an evolution.
Yeah.
A sort of intelligence that they're gaining. But it was never presented like that in the game. So that shift, I actually think, is a good altering of the canon of the video game, because I think it adds a lot more depth. I remember when they were first introducing the game, I was like, oh, okay, you're just gonna keep playing, which is, this is not a critique. The video game is just different, different mode. But that I actually do appreciate, and I'm wondering where else they'll go with that. Maybe they don't, but I find that fascinating.
They definitely seem to be hinting that they will. In every zombie franchise, like what eventually happens is like the zombies just become a part of life, and like they're not really the main threat anymore. It's like, yeah, whatever. There's a bunch of them. We can take them. We're all skilled at this, and we know what to do.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, what he was saying in the after credit thing, he was like, we have to up the ante. Like, what's going to happen? I also think it kind of coincides with like humanity is evolving too, right? Like humanity is building up something new. I low-key Akira is good. Akira is good. And if Ellie had agreed to do it, I would have been like, go team, make the cure.
But
I don't think Akira is the only route to humanity's survival.
Yeah.
I think that humanity is very adaptable and can adapt to these circumstances and continue on. It's not fun, but we are seeing it happen.
Yeah.
So I feel like they're showing the way that humans are evolving, humans are adapting, humans are learning ways to build up systems that work, that can create a semblance of normalcy in this environment. But then they have to counter that with like the monsters all evolving also.
Yeah. Only other minor thing, this is more just like being online. Bro, y'all gotta leave Bella Ramsey alone. Oh my God. It's actually quite annoying. Listen, if you don't think she was a good casting, that's cool, but leave it alone. It's over. She's not being recasted. You complaining like a child online is not gonna change anything. But regardless, my frustration with some of the Last of Us fandom is like, I don't know if they're mad at her acting skills. I think they just want someone that looks like the character, but I don't think that matters as much. Everything that Bella Ramsey is doing is exactly like how Ellie acts in the game. The cringe jokes, the snarkiness to how she interacts with authority. She's a little stubborn. She's a little arrogant. All of that. You could the jokes that she's making with Dina, that's straight up Ellie in the game. So like I'm just like, bro, just let it go. Just let it go. This is not a matter of, it's not a cosplay, right? Like this, it's not just like who can look the most like Ellie. No, it's about like who can bring this character to life, who can have the most screen presence and the most chemistry with the counterpart. In this case is with Joel, and you cannot deny that the two of them have great chemistry, because that is going to matter more when it comes to The Last of Us. If the chemistry with Joel and Ellie don't match, then the story falls apart. So it doesn't matter if she doesn't look exactly like the video game character, but also she's a little girl. She's a teenager. It's weird. I'm sorry. I think that's a little weird that you're worried too much about how the girl looks. Like I'm sorry. I was gonna
ask, like, is this about attractive?
Dude,
is this about them being attracted to Ellie, the character?
I don't know. I think there's some that will never admit it, but I do think it matters that they don't find Bella Ramsey attractive. I'm sorry. I do think that for some, that's the case. For others, maybe not. And I think there are a few that won't admit it, but I do think it does matter. I think there is a need in Hollywood for you to always have the women characters to be attractive, and that's
attractive to you.
Yes.
Like Bella Ramsey, she pretty.
But I know, but
like,
whatever, yeah. But
yeah.
I guess I'm saying the pretty status does not always apply to the men actors. There are a lot of men actors who do not fit in the societal version of what attractiveness is.
A ton.
Yeah, and their career is always good.
Like
so
every sitcom dad ever, and they have the hottest wife imaginable.
Exactly. Like, yo, give it a rest. Give it a rest. My goodness, man.
Yeah, I just think, you know what? It's okay to be upset about it, but we're 2 seasons in, so
either you can choose to not watch, but mind you,
that can't still be the thing that we're stuck on.
I will tell you this though, bro. I don't think HBO is going to miss y'all. They had a 10% increase in viewership this episode than they had last season. So if a few hundred y'all that are on Twitter don't want to watch, peace, bro. Anyways, y'all, those are our thoughts. Let us know what you thought about this episode. Let us know in the comment section below. Looking forward to embarking on this second round with a lot of you all. And so appreciate you all that have been with us since the beginning. It really does mean a lot. And with that, we will see you all next time. Take care, everyone. Peace.